Everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we are doing something super fun. We're taking a completely chaotic, rapid-fire 100-question trivia challenge, and, well, we're transforming it into a beautifully structured, thematic masterclass. Instead of just throwing random facts at you, like most trivia games do, we're going to organize this massive wealth of general knowledge into distinct, logical categories. Why? Because building a mental framework actually helps you retain all this fascinating information for the long haul.
Okay, let's dive into this. What is the largest desert in the world? Now, if you're like most of us, your brain immediately jumps to a very specific, sweltering, sandy location, right? But I want you to hold on to that thought. We pulled this exact question straight from our source material, and the actual answer might completely flip your understanding of geography upside down. We're going to reveal that surprising answer a little bit later, but just keep it in the back of your mind as we kick off our journey.
Section 1. Science and the Natural World. We're going from the macro universe right down to the micro.
Let's start with the literal foundation of life on Earth, photosynthesis. You've probably heard the word, but it's simply the miraculous process where plants actually convert sunlight into usable energy. It's kind of like nature's own solar power. But the natural world in our challenge goes way beyond just plant biology. It spans across the globe into massive ecological systems like the taiga biome, which is characterized by these vast, snowy coniferous forests, and then trickles all the way down to the animal kingdom. For instance, the source reminds us of wonderful little details, like the fact that an infant kangaroo is called a joey. By connecting the energy of the sun all the way to the forests and the animals living in them, we really start to see the whole shebang, a complete picture of the natural world.
Now, what's really interesting about grouping things this way is how it makes complex topics click. When you're hit with random chemical formulas, it can feel, honestly, a little overwhelming. So let's break it down. We've got table salt, represented by NaCl, then carbon dioxide, or CO2, which the challenge correctly identifies as the gas most responsible for global warming, and finally, mercury, bearing the symbol Hg. What's wild about mercury is the fascinating fact that it's a metal that remains totally liquid at room temperature. Seeing them lined up like this takes the chaos out of chemistry and turns it into pure, easily digestible knowledge.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly from physical science to the science of language. Our source challenge highlights a truly great linguistic term, the palindrome. A palindrome is simply a word that is spelled the exact same way forward and backward, like the classic example, radar. It's a brilliant little quirk of human language, isn't it? Giving it a clear, concrete definition helps lock that concept right into your memory.
You know, we absolutely can't talk about science without a quick detour into mathematics. In the context of our trivia source, the number 180 is huge. It represents the sum of the degrees of the angles in any triangle. It's literally a fundamental rule of geometry. And while we're on the topic of scale, the challenge reminds us that the number 1 billion is written with exactly 9 zeros. Visualizing these numbers gives them a concrete reality in our minds. That's a lot of zeros.
Moving right along to Section 2, Global Geography Landmarks, Borders and Capitals.
All right, to keep the gamified, rapid-fire spirit of the original challenge alive, I'm going to fire off these grouped facts, and I want you to mentally check them off with me. Ready? First, head up north. Canada's capital is Ottawa. Now down to South America, Brazil's capital is Brasilia. Zipping across the globe, we learn that China holds the title as the absolute largest producer of tea in the world. And finally, looking over at Europe, Germany boasts the largest population within the European Union. By stacking these geographical bullet points, we instantly travel the globe in just a matter of seconds. Let's zoom in on one specific country for a second, Italy. Our trivia source highlights two incredible yet vastly different Italian cities. On one side, we have Venice, famously known as the City of Canals, defined almost entirely by its waterways and iconic gondolas. On the exact opposite end of the historical spectrum, we've got Rome, the location of the monumental Colosseum. Contrasting these two cities side by side visually emphasizes how a single country can hold such incredibly diverse architectural and cultural identities. So remember that question we asked at the very beginning of this explainer? So the crucial point is this. The largest desert in the world is absolutely not the Sahara. No way. It is actually the Antarctic polar desert. You see, a desert is simply defined by its strict lack of precipitation, not by its heat or its sand. This is a highly counterintuitive geographical fact, but it perfectly proves why testing our general knowledge is so incredibly important. It literally forces us to unlearn our assumptions.
Section 3. World History and Leaders. How we shaped the modern world.
Let's walk through this historical timeline pulled directly from the Trivia Challenge. We kick things off in 1912.
the deeply tragic year the Titanic sank. Fast forward a few decades to 1945, a totally pivotal year that saw the founding of the United Nations. And then we have the end of World War II. Now, it is really important to point out that, strictly according to the challenge we are analyzing today, 1946 is the year given for when World War II ended. We are neutrally reporting the trivia exactly as it was presented in the source material to show you the timeline they constructed.
You know, sometimes history is literally woven right into the symbols we see every single day. Take the number 13, for example. In the context of our historical trivia, this specific number represents the stripes on the United States flag, which of course stand for the original 13 colonies. It's such a simple number, but it carries the heavy weight of a nation's foundational history.
But hey, history isn't just timelines and flags, right? It is driven by people. Centralizing data about key innovators really aids our memory retention. Check out this powerful trio. We have Carl Benz, who is credited with making the world's first car. We have James Madison, historically known as the father of the U.S. Constitution. And we have James Watt, the brilliant mind who invented the steam engine. Grouping a transportation pioneer, a political architect, and an industrial revolutionary together really shows us the completely different ways human ingenuity has pushed society forward.
Let's move to and see how this builds our final category, Section 4, Arts, Culture, and Sports, Human Creations and Entertainment. We are kicking off our pop culture section with some absolute high energy. I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse. Come on, even if you haven't actually seen the film, you definitely know the line. As our trivia challenge reminds us, this iconic, totally chilling quote comes from none other than the cinematic masterpiece, The Godfather. It's a perfect example of how certain pieces of art become permanently embedded in our global vocabulary.
Culture is also heavily defined by the specific traditions and arts exported from different regions. And the challenge highlights this beautifully. We learn that the massive October festival in Germany is, unsurprisingly, famously celebrated with beer. Moving down to Spain, we find the vibrant origins of the passionate flamenco dance. And over in the realm of classical music, it was the legendary Antonio Vivaldi who composed the timeless masterpiece, The Four Seasons. These aren't just dry facts. They are the living, breathing cultural signatures of these regions.
Now, bridging that global culture directly into the world of sports, we land on the number 5. As presented in our source, this number represents the 5 interlocking circles on the Olympic flag. Those rings are meant to symbolize the union of the 5 continents and the coming together of athletes from throughout the entire world at the Olympic Games. It's just a brilliant piece of visual trivia.
Speaking of legendary athletes, the challenge asks us to identify the domains of 2 absolute giants. We have Michael Jordan, universally recognized as the famous basketball athlete, contrasted with Tiger Woods, the definitive star golf athlete. Both guys completely dominated their respective sports. Oh, and just as a quick fun addition from the games category in our source, remember that in the strategic game of chess, it is the bishop that is the piece restricted to only moving diagonally, strategy and athleticism, all wrapped into one.
And this brilliantly illustrates the wonderfully quirky, unpredictable nature of general knowledge. We bounce from science to history to elite sports, and then, boom, we're hit with a purely nostalgic pop culture question from an old television commercial. What is the fabric of our lives? I'm actually going to leave that one hanging for you to answer in your own head. It really goes to show that trivia isn't just academic. It's made up of the media, the ads, and the everyday things we consume.
Look at what we just pulled off here. We took a massive, totally unorganized list of 100 random questions and built a structured, logical explainer that towards science, geography, history, and culture. We proved that learning is infinitely more engaging when you have a clear framework to unlearn your assumptions. So I'll leave you with this final thought. If you were wrong about the largest desert in the world, what other absolute facts are you holding on to today that a simple trivia question could completely dismantle? Keep testing your knowledge.